Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Start my recording quickly. And welcome to Wednesday, the 5th of November, the first week of November, being a bit continuation of the dump in October. And yeah, not too much else to say. We'll start with the max pain. I believe we've taken a lot of the max pain from the long side, and it's actually moved lower down now. So all the longs that were in place, sort of in this 100k to 103k area, their max pain is now sitting just underneath at about 98k. Yeah, 98.1, 98.2, 98.2 on the weekly, 98.2 on the 2 week for the longs, and 100k for the month, which pretty much has already been taken. All the short max pain is sitting slightly higher than the weekly open at about 111, 112. It's quite a ways off at this moment in time. The very local short max pain sitting at 102.5, which is very, very local to us. And yeah, the local stuff to the downside sitting at like 98. As for the Bitcoin volume profile, yeah, I'm expecting a bearish retest of 106. So basically this area I do feel like is a good area to aim for a bearish retest somewhere just around here, this low, and the low of this volume profile here. Potential areas to short. However, I will say something slightly a bit more optimistic, is that if we look at the long to short ratio on the weekly time frame, and you just give this a second to load. Okay, so every time we get, and I will actually show you something quite similar on the retail stablecoin demand, is that every time we sort of kind of get to above 30% either way, mainly towards 25% or 75% either way, this can signal that we're potentially getting close to a reversal or max saturation on the long to short ratio. Now, the weekly data is slightly delayed, so you're obviously going to have to wait for another weekly close for it to go even higher. But on the daily time frame, we're sitting about 74% long, which is very, very close to max saturation. And this doesn't have to happen, but usually what that ends with is a massive candle down to take all those people out, and then a bounce the opposite direction. Now, I'm not seeing that just yet. I'm not seeing people starting to flip underneath 100k, because we did talk about 99, like high 99, just underneath 100 being a potential bounce zone, especially if we see some longs coming off and potential shorts coming back into the market. I'm not really seeing that just yet. All I'm seeing is basically a bearish retest of 106, 110 max, and then a dump off a cliff. But, we are at support. I would rather be a longer at support here than a shorter. And, yeah, we are getting quite close to that max saturation. So, interesting. Like, it's very rare that this actually goes too much further off the chart and continues, rather than like we get like a big liquidation event and then it starts to bounce the other direction. So slightly bit of optimism for you guys on the data side, but the price action still looks really, really bad. But let's move over to the charts, and I'll keep the chat open. Yo, what's up, Plum Bowl? But yeah, it's looking a little bit recued. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Is that good? Right. So, do I have a fresh chart available? Yes, I do. We're going to take this stuff off. So, where we're at right now is we are breaking the weekly upside trending support at 108-ish. We'll just call it 108 to 108.5 on this weekly candle. So this is going to be a big weekly break. We are at weekly support. Yes, this is 101. I would like to see the weekly close above that. But we have now lost the upside. So I would be expecting a bearish retest from 108.5. Pretty much the underside of this is what we lost, unless by end of week we can regain this low. I think it looks, it looks pretty wrecked. And to be honest, if we lose 100k, like say we do get a little bit of a bounce and we bearishly retest here, there's just not really that much in the way till we get down to the lows at 80s down here. There is something here at 94, 95. There is something there, which could prove another bounce. But I kind of only see this going one way, unless we regain 108 by end of week, is that we bearish retest, and then we drop that 100k, we go to 95, we maybe get a little bit of a bounce, and then we just step ladder down all the way down into here. And it probably ends with a big down candle with a big wick that licks down all the longs, because people are going to long all the way down here, and probably, and then a big wick up, and then a big bounce back up into this stuff. That's what I'm seeing right now on the weekly, and all we can just do is go with the closes and go with the trend. And if we don't regain this 108, which is looking very, very unlikely by Sunday, then this is a very, very clear break of the upside structure. We had a higher high, now we have a lower low, very, very clear on the weekly, and you would be looking for bearish retest basically. However, we do have, if I just go back to, I want to go to a P chart now. We have taken a lot of this long liquidity to the downside now. And you know what, I'm actually going to take that off so it's a bit easier to see. I'll actually take a couple of these other things off now as well, because they were decent bounce trades for the strategy testing. So if we have a look at the 4-hour liquidations, you'll see that we've pretty much taken everything to the downside. 103 to 100, it's all been taken with a little bit of a cluster below that wick at 99, and then a dead zone beneath 99. So a bounce to sort of like 106 to underside retest this structure, where we do have high leverage stuff, 104.5 and 105.5, that is building up. I think that is very much on the cards at this moment in time. Obviously, if we lose that 4-hour support, I will probably bow out of this trade. As of right now, we're holding the daily open, which is quite nice. We do have some giga bullish divergence on the 4-hour, bullish divergence on the retail stablecoin demand as well. I'm thinking that this could be an area for a potential bounce. Now, we do have a new high on the 5-minute as well, so potentially you could even pull a fib from here. But my bounce trade is purely just based off like holding this. I want to hold this swing as well, and it's just like a little short-term play. Like if we get below here, I'll stop it. And well, actually, on this trade, I'm only longing this area, and if we get below here, I'll stop it and potentially try again at the lows. But I'm not really that confident on it. So yeah, I am in a bit of a bounce trade. I'm expecting this to go. I'm going to take profit around 104, 105, this area first. But I am looking for the underside retest of 1065-ish, basically this daily underside retest, which also coincides with this 4-hour here. So basically like this zone, I'm looking for a bearish retest of that. Yeah, that's the immediate term, and we'll have to wait for this week to completely resolve the upside structure. Again, we're going to bullishly diverge on the daily here as well, and we're just barely holding support. If I go over to the retail stablecoin demand as well, usually when we get below 30, it can mean that we are getting to an area of potential reversal, or above 30 for that matter. So yeah, on the 12-hour and the 4-hour, we're getting very, very close to sort of those overextended areas on the retail stablecoin demand. And we're also majorly bullishly diverging on the price as well. So I would be quite surprised if we don't get some sort of bounce here. Some sort of bounce. Obviously, the market's still heavily long, and we are in a severe downtrend at this moment in time. So be careful. But yeah, I'd be quite surprised if we don't see some sort of bounce from here, And yeah, but I guess that's about it for Bitcoin at this moment in time. We're just in a very, very severe downtrend, and this could actually get very ugly very quickly. I'm actually going to move that 105 level just up to there, to 106.5. So yeah, this could get very ugly very quickly, as in we could just bearishly retest here and then go all the way down to this area, which there is another potential bounce along there as well. But yeah, I'm not very optimistic on this chart anymore, especially if we start doing some low closes, and also all this bearish divergence is potentially going to play out now. It's probably going to play out quite fast, which would be quite ideal, to be honest. And yeah, I do think we'll probably get something like if we break 100k, we'll probably see a little bit of a bounce around the 618 and bearishly retest anywhere in this area now, and then we're probably going to go all the way down to the 80s because there's just not that much in the way. There's no volume, there's not really anything. There's a fair value gap here, or a market inefficiency, whatever you like to call it. So in between 100k and like 95, there's not really that much. And again, in between like 94 and 85, there's not that much at all, like in these areas. So we're probably going to see quite half-fast dumps. In terms of my spot, I'm probably going to sell a little bit on the first bounce, just a little bit. And yeah, I do think it's kind of looking like it's ending. That would be my my thoughts. But yeah, like I said, until we get that 108k close, it's technically the uptrend on the weekly is still recoverable, especially after this new high. It still is savable. It just, there's just, yeah. Anyway, you know the deal. You know the deal. So ETH looks a bit worse, actually. Closed underneath its yearly open. We'd really like to see that regained. Again, this is an area we potentially like to see a bounce, but this could also just fail the daily open and then go down towards this overlapping support at 2.9 to 3k. So I'm not long on ETH at this moment in time because it looks slightly worse. You do have this local uptrend on the 5-minute. I would like to see this regain the yearly open. But if you took this auto charting tools off, what you do have is you have a low and a higher high. So you do have some local uptrending price action on the 5-minute until you lose this low down here. So there's a potential scalp play on ETH that you could do, although I just think this looks slightly more bearish than Bitcoin at this moment in time, and definitely has the potential to fall a little bit lower down towards underneath 3k. So I'm not really going to be doing anything on ETH. Well, what are we thinking on ETH? I do still hold some spot. Like I think I sold like 10% around like 4.6 just because I was taking like a tiny bit of profit. Other than that, I'm still in my spot. So I want to get out, but I don't want to get out down here. So, but yeah, it's time to have more of a short mindset. 100%, 100% now, especially for this moment in time. No, but I think my shout selling all my spot would be continually. Yeah, that was a really good shout. Apart from your soul orders. Yeah, I'm a bit upset. Well, I'm not upset. I mean, I sold half of my soul at the literal top, and I scaled out massively up hype, so I can't be that mad. But in terms of my spot, I'm still largely in it, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think on the next bounce, it's probably worth selling, even if down quite a large portion of your spot. Not financial advice, but I'm probably going to be doing that. I'm probably going to be doing some of that as well, and it will probably come in the region of 106 to 108. just because I don't want to hold. If we are going to go to the 80s, I just don't want to hold everything, and it's fine. We can talk about having a bounce from like 80s and maybe clearing some of this stuff back up here, but I just don't see it right now. I only see the downside. But yeah, I am kind of thinking that we're going to get some sort of bounce right now. I would be very surprised if we don't. You know, very, very surprised. What's ETH Bitcoin doing? I actually haven't checked ETH Bitcoin in ages. Yeah, back at support. Back at support. What's again? Simply ETH is, you know, let's actually look at the 4 hour. Yeah, so we have this big close below level with this massive wick down as well. Potentially actually took all of his liquidations as well. Is this a P chart? Yes, it is a P chart. Yeah, took all of his liquidations. Got some high leverage stuff sitting at like 3.4. So potentially, if we hold this daily open, you could see that high leverage stuff taken, and then maybe a bounce off where we are right now, up into 3.5, and then potentially 3.6. Other than that, very, very big downtrend. Not really too many retests on the way down, which is actually a bit sketch. So again, this is all technically untested. This is untested to the downside. This is untested to the downside. This is untested. Well, that's actually tested. That's the only one that's tested on that wick there. So that was the only clean test on the downside. So we probably have quite a lot of stuff to do in terms of testing to the upside. There, and even there. And yeah, but right now there's no price action to say that we're going up, apart from the very, very local 5-minute uptrend, which can be easily broken. But yeah, it is, and we're here for the ride. And hopefully, you know, one thing that I've kind of like realized about me as a trader is I'm not aggressive enough shorting. Because, you know, with longs and stuff and with bottoms, and it's quite easy to get into those positions. And you also have, it's a little more gentle, it's a lot more forgiving. But with selling and shorting and downtrends, it all happens quite fast. I'm a bit too stubborn. Like I'll obviously short and stuff, but in terms of like selling spot, I'm a tiny bit too stubborn. So I'm just like, oh, I'll sell on the bounce, and then the bounce doesn't bounce, and I'm like, oh no, I can't sell at the lows. Yeah, that's all right though. So yeah, apart from that, let's have a little look at Sol. Again, kind of looking a little bit better than ETH. Actually had a nice, decent close, but this 4-hour retest, it doesn't give me a lot of hope, man. It doesn't give me a lot of hope, because this is basically just a bearish retest of that swing low, and basically what we did last time, where we just bearishly retest and we went further down. So again, we do have some nice wicks to the downside. We do have the test of this low, and on the 5-minute, again, a local 5-minute uptrend, which actually has broken down here. So again, there's a potential 5-minute play on this. Potential 5-minute play. But yeah, just watch out for this 4-hour chart. It's potential rejection again. And if I were to long this, which potentially would not be the best shout, not financial advice, of course, is I would not want to lose this 5-minute low here. I would cut that so it has a tight stop, and then potentially again you can try at this 5-minute low for like some sort of stuber. But other than that, yeah, it's looking a little bit rough. I'd be very surprised if we don't get some sort of bounce here though. Like, just even if it's very, very weak, like very, very weak, I'd be very surprised if we didn't. And you know, yeah, I've still got 50% of my Solana bag, which I did sell at 250, 50%. But I think as for the rest of this, now this whole area on Sol is basically resistance. This whole area until we can regain it. So if we do come back up and like retest sort of like 180, I might just sell the rest, you know, and just call it a day. Call it a day. What are your thoughts on Sol, guys? Let's actually have a look at the volume delta. Let's go to the 4-hour. Yeah, we do have some buy volume coming in down here, which is quite nice to see, especially when we're bullishly diverging. However, again, looking at 180, looking at all this short volume here, I just think it's a no-brainer. That yeah, starting at this bearish retest at this 4-hour low, I think it's just like short mentality now. And again, to regain this whole upside trend on the higher time frame, I do think like weekly opens would be needed to break above. Until then, I am bearish. But yeah. Asta was one thing that we were looking at last a few days ago. Yeah, I've been stopped out. What else can I say? I mean, I longed. I think it was. It must have been 9.495. So I had my stop at like 9.1. Yeah, literally deviated below and then did the pump. This is such a scam coin, bro. I might stop trading this altogether. To be honest, potentially. Looks not too bad though. We've actually regained something of importance, and yeah, I'm just not really that interested in this anymore, to be honest. That's all retested. That's all retested. It's probably gonna go for the highs though, if I had to guess. So yeah. Apart from that, let's have a look at hype. The one true baby hype. Yeah, again, has a very, very local 4-hour, a new 4-hour high, which is quite nice. Whoops, that was not correct. I'm going to take off this 4-hour low now as we've broken below it. Take it off. Oh, my stomach's been really hurting a little bit recently. Lol, bit off topic. Yeah, we do have a very local 1-hour high, which is nice, and 4-hour. I actually quite like that. But again, still in quite a heavy downtrend. Actually tested this low quite nicely. So again, yeah, you can go down to the lower time frames, potentially catch something as some sort of scalp. Maybe like this. If it does come back into here. Or the daily open is untested as well. So yeah, I do think that we are kind of due a bounce. But again, there's just so much. This just doesn't look that good as well. That's all tested. That's all tested. Yeah, it's not that interesting right now, to be honest. Let's have a look at these liquidations. A lot of stuff below us. Could still take all that stuff out. A lot of stuff above us as well. Not really too much there, to be honest. Actually, let me turn that back on. Man. What are you thinking on hype, Zoo Spreader? This is a very local gain, which is quite nice. I will say that. Let's go to the 15 minutes so it's easier to see. Low, higher high from this, actually closed above. So yeah, we do have a higher high. We don't have a higher low yet, but it is on the cards for sure. So definitely seeing some lower time frame trend change. Bitcoin will be the 5 minute, and ETH. For hype, it'll be like the hourly is actually closed above, which looks quite nice. So yeah, potentially we're getting quite close to a little bit of a bounce. However, I am not overly optimistic that this bounce is going to, one, change the downtrend, and two, provide any significant breathing room to the market at this moment in time. Now, end of week, if we're closing above like 108 on the weekly, fine. Even if we can like regain like 10, like this area on the daily time frame, would be very, very, very nice. You know, like 106 this low. However, I just don't really see it at this moment in time. And until then, it's to potentially short. And yeah. I still want the Lord. Yeah, I still want the Lord Dampu shorts as well. However, if we look at it like this, yeah, okay. When we did this, I wanted that. Now I just don't think this is. I don't think this is the play in the local price action anymore. I think it's probably more like this now. If we're talking like local price action, and that would kind of coincide with all this high leverage stuff up here, which just so happens to be the stupid pocket. So yeah, but then again, you're looking at this structure, and you'd have to gain the weekly open, and this really bearish little part to actually get that. So I'm not really looking at this as a short right now. I'm more looking at 1065, and then if we gain that 110, 111, and then yeah, obviously if we get all the way up here, okay, cool. But yeah, I would love the Lord Dampu shorts. Honestly, I would love that. But it just doesn't look good. And I feel like maybe we're in for something potentially like this. On the weekly. Close here, get some sort of bounce, bearish retest this level, or anywhere in here for that matter. Actually, just it would be 108, sort of in there. Go down 95, get a bounce, bearish retest 100, go all the way down to the 80s, get a really big wick below, like a wick, completely flush out everything, get like some V-shaped recovery above here, and then potentially do some sort of uptrend back up to 100k, maybe, and then wherever we stop, we're probably gonna have, hopefully, if we're going into a bear market, we'll have a new low, and then that would actually still be on the cards, the Lord Dampu short, that would still be very much on the cards if we're looking at the weekly time. Wow, there's too many things on this chart right now. So something like this, and then this. That could still be on the cards, because we do have a lot of liquidity up here, like 115 to 120. Do we think that's going to get tagged before we go all the way down into like the nasty stuff? I'm still thinking that, but yeah. So let me